got the Fusiliers. This is the British rifle squad. They've got the L1A1 SLR. Good accuracy, but doesn't do a lot of damage. Its ammunition's not bad either. Bazooka. So this is pretty much your standard infantry unit. At 10, they aren't as good as the soldiers from Mass. Although they do have the British range of vehicles. So you've got the Spartan at 5, which is your keep option, and you've got the highly mobile. No, sorry, the Sacrosanct is the basic option. The Spartan is the more expensive but faster option. And then you've got the Lynx transport helicopters, which are very fast, especially the Lynx 887. Pretty much the fastest helicopter you can get, and it's got a few rocket pods for some fire support as well. But yeah, the Fusiliers are basic infantry. Then you've got the Green Jacket Recon squads. They're identical in terms of firepower to the Fusiliers, but they cost twice as much. But for that, you get very good optics. They have the same they also have the same range of vehicles. So yeah, the Green Jackets are paying twice as much, 10 more, but you get some recon. Very good optics, so that'll definitely help out. Then you've got the Hemmet Sachsen. Looks like your basic German rifle squad. So doesn't look like they don't have as good rifles as the recon squads. Yeah, their accuracy isn't too good, although again these guys are pretty cheap at 5. Frags again, you know, they've got quite a lot of. They've got the frags, so they can do a lot of damage if they get close enough, and they've got the Fuchs and the M113 GA1. So yeah, this is sort of keep and careful infantry, I'd say. You know, pretty keep. It's gonna probably not do too well against enemy infantry, but it's got the frags, which could do a bit of damage. And it can get places fast thanks to the Fuchs. After that, you've got the Jaeger. Cost twice as much at 10, which is still pretty cheap. But for this, you get a what looks like a Panzerschreck, but it's a blindside RPG, which is more accurate but carries less ammunition than their grenades. It can also fire faster, so they can do more damage per second. And their G3A3s are a bit more accurate, so they'll be hitting the target a bit more. Apart from that, not much difference. They have the same range of vehicles open to them, so the Jaeger is sort of like a better Fuchs. You know, not as expensive as the British infantry, not as cheap as this, but they do more damage. It's sort of halfway between the two. Then we've got the Lad Blowpipe. So this is a dedicated anti-aircraft team for the British. Their assault rifles are the same as their regular British infantry, but they carry a lot less ammunition, so they can, you know, fight as well as regular British infantry, but they'll run out of ammo faster. And they've had their bazookas replaced by the blowpipe SAM, as you can see there. 6 missiles, but this isn't a very good SAM unit. As you can see, they only cost 5, so it's got a pretty bad range, pretty bad accuracy, and the HE power isn't anything to be excited about. So these guys are probably going to miss a lot, and then you know, the packed helicopters aren't even going to notice when they're hit, because they tend to be more armored than NATO ones. So this is a pretty bad unit. I wouldn't really recommend buying this. And they've got the Sacrosanct and the Spartan to get them around the place. Then you've got the Lad Red Eye, which is the American version. They cost 10, so I'm expecting a bit of an improvement. And so the rifle has more ammunition, but it's got less accuracy, so they aren't as good when they're firing, but they can fire for longer. And they're a bit more accurate with their missiles, nothing to be excited about, and they can fire a bit further away, but only about 100 meters, which isn't much when you're dealing with helicopters. Yeah, I think what you're paying more for, you're paying the extra 5 for the US to get their range of vehicles. You've got this, you know, you've got a whole range of stuff you can equip these guys with. Now, if we pay another 10, we get upgraded the Stinger. So their missiles replaced with the Stinger. It has a bit more range at about 2,500 and a lot more accuracy. So these guys probably are the only, you know, we're just starting to have a chance of hitting something at this point. So these guys are probably going to hit most of the time. 8's quite accurate. no other difference between the two. So yeah, I'd probably recommend buying the seniors, but 20 isn't too much to pay for an infantry unit that's going to be taking down helicopters that start at like 50 at the minimum when you're dealing with packed. So I'd forget the keeper AA infantry. They're just not going to be doing much. Stick with these guys. And you've got the wide range of vehicles again to choose between. Okay, now we go back to the French. Another rifle squad. Looks a bit surprised, but anyway. So this is a 10 equipped infantry. They've got that submachine gun rather than a proper rifle, but they do have the bazooka. So this is probably just the only reason you'd buy these guys if you're interested in the bazooka. This is probably the cheapest French unit to have that bazooka. 700-meter range, 4 accuracies. It's not good, but it might get the job done. When you're in that kind of range, bazookas tend to hit. Usually there isn't much room for error, similar to the mortars. You've got the AP power of 10 and 6 rockets, so yeah, these guys are probably only useful for their bazookas. Don't even bother thinking that the SMG is going to do much. It's got a lot of ammo, so if somehow they can fight back, they'll fight back for a while, but these guys are going to die pretty quickly, I guess. But, they've got the French, with, the standard French infantry transports, the VAB and the MX. Upgrade to the Legion FAMAS, and you get upgraded to an assault rifle and a better version of this bazooka, but they cost 10 more. Probably go for this one just because, that submachine gun is going to do a lot. The bazooka won't be helpful if they start sending infantry your way because they know your guys suck. These FAMAS seem to do quite a good job. And let's compare them to the Socialist FAMAS. So they cost 20. Socialist FAMAS cost 10. That's interesting. I think it's because their rifles are less accurate. So the Legion FAMAS, that's it. They've got accuracy 10. So these guys are very accurate with their rifles, so they'll do more damage than the Socialist FAMAS, but they cost twice as much. I'd probably just stick with the Socialist FAMAS. I'd probably forget the Legion FAMAS and use the Legion if I wanted some cheap bazookas. Then we've got the Panzer Grenadier. These guys are quite an interesting unit because they've got the sort of German assault rifle, but they got 10 accuracy, so these guys can fight very well against infantry. And they've also got the basic 80 game Milan F1, good power, and the accuracy is 5, so it's not bad. So these guys are sort of all in a combination of rifle squads and dedicated 80 km infantry, but they pay the price because they're 30, which is quite expensive. But they do have a good range of vehicles. They've got the Fuchs, the Marder, all the way up to the Marder 183, so they can get it, and the M113. So they've got a decent range of vehicles, and they can deal with any land target. Tanks. They can hit with the 80 km infantry. They can do quite a good job with the G3. So we've got now the British paratroopers. So standard British rifle looks like. Let's compare it. Nope, it's a better rifle, more accurate and does a bit more damage. Not much though. And they've got the standard bazooka. Do they cost any more? They cost twice as much as the Fusiliers. I'm guessing you're paying for the upgraded. Yeah, so you're paying 10 more for a better rifle as well. No, so that's it. Basically, you're paying for 10 more, so their rifle's a bit better, and you can equip them with the Sacrosanct and the Lynx. I don't think the regular infantry. No, the regular infantry have the Lynx as well. Not really sure what's the advantage of paratroopers over regular rifle squad. 10 more for a tiny bit more accuracy and HE power probably isn't much, and the Fusiliers have a better range of vehicles to choose from. Then we've got the Rangers. So these guys are fairly expensive at 25, but they've got the M16 assault rifle with a bit more accuracy and I think a tiny bit more HE power, and they're equipped with the basic SAM Red Eye, but it's got accuracy 8, so these guys clearly got some training rather than dedicated Red Eye infantry. So these are quite expensive, but they're good. They're quite good. So interesting. The range is quite bad at 2,200 meters, but they're quite accurate. So it's like the Igla for the Warsaw Pact. You know, the range isn't good, but if a helicopter gets into that range, they could probably take it down, and they can fend off any infantry that the helicopter might have been carrying, I guess. Rangers also have a pretty good. Actually, no, they've got only expensive vehicles. They can either travel in helicopters or the Bradley IFV. They can't be transported in basic vehicles, so you know these guys will be pretty expensive to transport onto the battle, which could be a bit of a problem if you just want the Rangers and not their vehicles. So let's move on to the standard US rifleman. M16 standard story, not as accurate, but you got the ammo, quite a lot of it. Basic bazooka that'll do you damage if a tank gets in the range, but out of it won't do a thing. And like they can be transported in basic M113s, Bradleys, Hueys, and Blackhawks. So yeah, same kind of story with the riflemen. You know, they're a decent infantry. They've got they've got no strength, but no real weakness. But the soldiers from us are probably better overall. Then you got the Stoper. Now this is the only NATO engineer squad. The French stuff, and they're the only ones that can make up the flamethrowers. So they've got the bolt action rifle, which is gonna do quite badly in fighting with infantry. Frag, it's quite accurate, but it is very little damage, so it probably won't do much either. And the flamethrower, which isn't that good either. I probably wouldn't use these guys. Flamethrowers aren't good enough, and that's a pretty basic rifle. But you know, you can transport them in the VAB or the AMX, so I think the best thing these guys would be used for would be a sort of attacking the enemy's FOBs. You know, use the VAB to sneak them around to the enemy's VOB, and then I think the flamethrowers are quite good at burning buildings down, so could be an interesting strategy to use, but guess I wouldn't use these in most games. And finally, the SAS Special Forces. So they're pretty much the same as the Delta Force, but I think a bit worse. So yeah, basically there's a combination between the Delta Force and the Rangers. They cost 25. They've got the flashbang grenade, which it's good for stunning enemies. They're quite accurate with their rifles, and they've got a lot of ammunition, and they've got the blowpipe, and they're a bit more accurate with it than the other stuff. And they've got the good optics as well. I'm not sure, do Delta Force have optics? I forgot to check that out. Yeah, they do have optics. So yeah, pretty much they're sort of combination between the Delta Force and the Rangers, but they cost the same as the Rangers. I'm not sure what kind of. So yeah, they're better at infantry combat than the Rangers, but not as good as the Delta Force. And they can be transported only in the links. So you've got the basic transport helicopter and the armed transport helicopter. So that's interesting. They've got a helicopter with rocket pods in it, whereas the Delta Force don't. So if the Delta Force needs any fire support, they'd have to bring in their own helicopters, whereas the SAS don't if you use the Lynx 87. And it's faster than the Delta Force. This is stuff apart from their Blackhawk, which costs 5 less, but it doesn't have rocket pods. So there you go. I think that's the summary of the NATO Infantry. That's the end of the archive. Thank you and goodbye.